So we were working on the show cart, right? And in this show cart, we have applied all the concepts of data binding as well as the directives, right? Some way we are using ng for, ng if, a template also we are using. So we have applied almost all the concepts of data binding, in which we have particularly discussed about event binding and directives also. Today we are going to discuss about view encapsulation. And view encapsulation in Angular typically. What is the current version of Angular? It's 19, right? Okay. View encapsulation in Angular. And I think encapsulation is a term that you have already discussed in object oriented programming. What is encapsulation? Hiding the things from outer world. Something like that you have discussed in view encapsulation. Yes. Is my voice properly audible to everyone, guys? Or is it any noise from my side? Okay. So encapsulation means hiding the details from the world that you don't want to show. In Angular, one extra word is attached here, view. And whenever we discussed about view, we are generally talking about the HTML or the template. So it means that you are going to add encapsulation in the view, right? We will add the encapsulation in the view. So we will not do anything in this project. I will show you the things in a test project. So this is a test project with us, and first of all, the app component.html will be returning a container, and in this container there will be a heading h1. Here I will write this is main app. After that we will create a button here, and in button I will write main. So app component dot css, we will write a css there. So first of all, we will write css for the container by saying that it is having a padding of 20 pixel. It is having border. That's it. After that we will write the css for button. Let's say height of around 50 pixel, width of around 80 pixel, and background color of any color you can keep. Let's check how it is showing in the view. See, if your terminal is not opening or not working in VS Code, so no problem. We are using a Angular folder in desktop. So go there, desktop and Angular. After that, which project you want to run, open that. So test project we want to run. I will open this. In the search tool or the path, write cmd, hit enter. So it will open the command prompt in that particular folder. Here you can write ng serve, like same command that you used to write in VS Code, and it will open the app. Right? So container is coming, this is main app is coming, and the button is also coming. Now we will try to understand the view encapsulation here within this project. For that, we are having one header component. So let's delete it, and we will create two new component within the same project. We will create two new component. See, for new component also, it's not terminal is not opening, so no problem. You do the same thing again. Then the command prompt ng generate component first. So at first I have generated a component by naming it as first and then second. So you will see that in app first and second two component came. What I will do is I will write the same piece of code there also. Same code. I'll copy this and let's give this div a class. Class as div. Same code I will give to the first component as well. Here this is first component and button is also first. Same thing we will write in the HTML file of second component. Okay. Now in the app file we need to import it. So go to typescript file of app. Here we need to import the first and second component. So first of all remove this header component because we have deleted this, and we have to import the first component as well as we need to import the second component, and let's use them here. Right. In app components HTML file, after that again I will create a div, and in this app file I will render app hyphen first and app hyphen second, means those container I am rendering in the main app. One CSS file is giving error. Let's check. No problem. We will run it again. So now these things are coming. First component, second component is coming. But you will notice one thing. Just try to understand what I am saying. For the app component, we have written its CSS, right? For the app component, we have written the CSS. And how we are writing the CSS? That to the button, we are saying that its height will be 50 pixel, width will be 80 pixel, and background color will be coral. Now this app dot component is rendering these two templates, app first and app second. They are also having one button. Then why this CSS property of button is not getting applied to these two buttons? Although we are writing it for app only, right? We are writing this CSS condition for app component. Then these buttons are inside app first, but it is not going to apply to the first and the second button. That is only called view encapsulation. So view encapsulation tells that wherever you are writing the CSS, uh, so here you are writing style URL for the app component. We are saying that style URL, and this style URL is saying that dot slash app dot component dot CSS. It means that this style URL will be getting applied to only this particular template only. That is called view encapsulation. Means whatever CSS you are writing in Angular will be written for specific HTML files. Now here if you go to inspect and check, so app root, if you are able to see, or let me call the button, so here button is having the class that ng content ng c2778 something like that, it is having this particular class. And if you check the class of the buttons here, because they are also having a button, right? So for this button class name is different, right? Here it is something to c7 something like that, right? This one. So let's copy this. So when I'm copying this class, and I will give this class to the other buttons. So let's say this one, right? And you will see that this particular button is not having that class. So edit it. So here, and you will see that the first button is also having that particular CSS. This is forcefully you are writing. This is forcefully you are writing the CSS. Once you are refreshing the session, it will remove that. That is only called view encapsulation. If I want that the app CSS should be applied to all other its child, for that in app component, here I will write encapsulation. First you need to import view encapsulation, right? First we need to import the view encapsulation. Then here write the property as encapsulation colon view encapsulation dot none. There are three you can write. There are three types of capsulation is there: none, shadow dome, and emulated. This time I have written none, and you will check that by default the button property is applied to all the other component also. Means everywhere only this particular CSS is working. If I remove this CSS, means to the div I am writing, so they will have the div property also, right? They are having the div property also. And this time if you go to inspect and check, here button is not having any special class. There is nothing written as ng to this button and to the next button also. This particular button is not having any view encapsulation. Now it means anyone can use it, right? Anyone can use it. Here if I'm keeping it, I will explain it again if you are not understanding. Here if I'm keeping this emulated, that view encapsulation dot emulated, you will see that the content is coming like in the starting only, right? The content is coming like starting only. So emulated means it will apply the encapsulation to preserve the styling, right? It will apply. So emulated encapsulation is the default, or you can say by default view encapsulation. Let's discuss it again if you are not understanding. First understand what we are doing. Let me remove it from here. As you know that app.component.html file will be going to HTML, means in the browser. So what you have written here? Here we have written that there is a div whose class is div and it is displaying one heading. This is main app, and then a button main, right? And a button main. And when you are checking it, so it is coming a div with a border. This is main app and a button, right? It is coming how, why this button is coming in this way? Because it's CSS we have written that it's height, width and background color. Okay. We have created two other component also, first and second component. Same type of code I have written in the first one. A div without any class, then a heading h1, and then a button. And button is also not having any id class, direct button tag I am writing. Same thing I have written to the second component as well, that this is second component and this is second. Now we will try to use these in our app. For that I will create a container again, and in that container we know that if you want to use any component, their tag is there, selector. So app hyphen first, and then app hyphen second, right? App hyphen first, app hyphen second, and you will see that components are coming. This is first component, then first button, this is second component, and this second. Here we have one question. In the app component, you are writing the CSS for button. Directly you are writing button, it means to the button tag you are applying the CSS, right? If you are not writing any dot or hash here, it means that you are giving this CSS for the button tag. Now just go and to your HTML and check. So here elements, this is the part that is getting rendered, app root, and here app first is coming. In app first also we are having a button. Now my question is, if you are writing the CSS for a button tag, right? Here in the app component, we have written the CSS for button component, button tag. Then why it is not getting applied to these two buttons, first and second? Because these buttons are also inside app component now, right? In React, it applies, right? In React, by default, the CSS property will be applied whenever you are merging the components. Got the question now? You are writing the CSS for app.component, and to the button you are saying that it will have the background color of coral. Now these two buttons are also inside the app component only. then why they are not having the CSS? For that, go to the typescript file of app, and here you will see that style URL. Here this style URL is saying that it will be applicable to this app.component.html only this file. If your child is coming from any other file, it will not have the CSS property. That is by default, by the way. That is by default. Or let's understand these things in a different way. You have three components: first component and second component. And you are thinking that I will write the, so these are the files that you are having. You are saying that in the second component I will write the HTML, in the first component I will write the HTML, but I will not write their CSS in their CSS file. I will write all the CSS inside app only, but it is not getting applied. Means you are saying that I will write the CSS in app file only. I will not write it multiple times. Or else, one use case is, let's say you want all the buttons of your website to come in this way. So instead of writing it again and again, can't you write it at one place only? Right? Right or not? So one technique for doing that is copy and give it the global CSS file. So I will write it in the global CSS. After writing it to the global CSS, you will see that all the buttons are having same properties, same height, width and background color. But there can be more buttons that you don't want in this design. So giving something to universal CSS is not a good practice. That is why we are trying to give it to app component. But it is not getting applied to these two buttons, because by default the view encapsulation in Angular is set to emulated. Emulated means other components cannot use your CSS, right? Other components cannot use your CSS. And now if we want other component to use our CSS, we need to change it. Now the question arises here that why we are not able to use the CSS, what Angular is doing here. For that, let's check, go to inspect and just check the button of main. If it is visible to you, you will see a class here that underscore ng content ngc2, something like that. And when you are checking the CSS of this particular first button, so open it. So for this button, the class is different. This is called view encapsulation. Angular is trying to save the view or the CSS of one button by writing their unique classes. By writing their unique classes. Now, understood the problem statement? Like why we are studying this? Understood? That if you want to write the global CSS, it will not be getting applied. Now let's first understand what is this view encapsulation. So view encapsulation is a mechanism. You know what do you mean by this word mechanism? Means it's a way. So is a mechanism that determines how styles will be applied to components, right? So view encapsulation decides or determines that how style will be getting applied to the component. By default, they are following the strict encapsulation that you cannot use each other's CSS by default, and that is called emulated. That is called emulated. Understood that if we are saying that view encapsulation will be determining that how styles will be applied to components, right? How styles will be applied to component. It controls it controls whether the styles defined in a component are scoped to that component only or other components, or it will affect other components also. So view encapsulation control. Now let's say in app dot, I will open app only. So let's say you are writing a app dot component dot css for this app component. So it will decide that who can use this CSS file, who can use this CSS file. By default, only app component can use it by default. For that, view encapsulation can be settled up in three ways. The first one way is emulated, which is by default as well. Second is none, and third is shadow dome. Shadow dome. View encapsulation. Now, first for using it, you have to import the view encapsulation from Angular core, right? And here in the components decorator, I will write that encapsulation colon view encapsulation dot emulated, and you will see that it has not made any change in the app. It means that it is the by default only. Now I will write the view encapsulation to none. View encapsulation dot none, and you will see that these buttons are also having the same property this time, right? They are also having the same property. Now, if you are writing that view encapsulation dot none, you are trying to say that anyone can use this now. Anyone, right? You are trying to say that view encapsulation dot none, or technically you are not writing any encapsulation. Encapsulation dot none means there is no encapsulation. If there is no encapsulation means you are not hiding anything. If you are not hiding anything means anyone can use it. That is called view encapsulation dot none, right? Understood? So we will write it for emulated first. Emulated view encapsulation is the default view encapsulation in Angular, which means that which means that its style properties are limited to its own template only, and no other component can use its properties. Now understood? So emulated is by default written. Here if I'm writing view encapsulation dot emulated, it means that they cannot use the CSS, right? They cannot use because it is you are providing the encapsulation. If you are providing the encapsulation, that how other will be using it? So this is the by default. If it is by default, there is no need of saving it, like no need of writing dot emulated here, because even if you are not writing, this is only getting applied, right? So no need to write it. Second is none. Setting the view encapsulation to none. What I'm writing? Setting the view encapsulation to none means the style properties will be shared from one component to another. From one component to another. Understood? Whenever you are writing in whatever file you are writing, in whatever file you are writing. Now I will reverse the case. How I will reverse? I will write the button property. So I'm not writing the button property in app component. This time I will write this property inside, let's say first. So you will see that only first component is having the button properties. In app component, we are writing, let's say if I have written none, view encapsulation none. Again, no change, because in the typescript file of app you are writing that other can use its CSS. It cannot use other CSS. Now the CSS is written in first component. So open its typescript file. Same thing we will do here. First we need to import the view encapsulation, and then here you have to use it, or directly if you are trying to use, so write encapsulation colon view encapsulation dot none, and you will see that this time all of the components are having the first property. It doesn't matter that who is the child, who is the parent. It will be shared globally. It will be shared globally because now CSS is written in the side the first component, but everyone is using the button property. Now there is one case. Let's suppose app is having also the button properties, but here background color is blue. Here background color is blue. Now app can use its own CSS also, and app can use the CSS coming from the first one. Now just think once that whose CSS property it will use, its own CSS or the CSS from the first component. Why it is not using its own property? Let's refresh it. No change. Then why it is not using its own CSS now? Because whenever you are setting the view encapsulation to none, it is used as like global CSS. How it is used? It is used like as global CSS. Now what I will do, from the app component I will remove the CSS property, and we know that style.css is our global CSS. Paste it here. Now also no one is having the blue color. Now also no one is having the blue color. Why? Because here you are right in the first component, you are writing that its view encapsulation is none. So this is the global CSS now. This is the global CSS. If I am removing it from here, you will see that they are having global CSS, but first is not having the global CSS. First is having its own CSS because you are writing it in the first component as well. Here, this time all are having, right? So that is called view encapsulation none. It is used like a it is used like a global CSS to other components, right? It is used as a global CSS. If you are setting the view encapsulation to none, it is used like a global CSS to other components, right? Now, what is this shadow DOM? So I will write the CSS of button inside app component, right? And let's remove all of them. All are taking the property. Why all are taking property? Because in app component.ts we have set the view encapsulation to none, right? Right? Okay. What is this font? What is this font name? Go to. This is the go to font. How we know? Because we have set it in the global CSS to the H1. I'll show you. To the H1 we are saying that the font is go to. Now let's open the second component. To the second component, open its HTML and CSS. In the second component, what I want is, let's say this is also having the go to font because you are writing it in global CSS. So this is also having the go to font. What I want is it should have some different font. Let's say it should have cursive. So what I will do is in the second CSS to the H1, I will write that font family is cursive. And you will see that it has changed to cursive. It has changed to cursive. So first of all, go to its typescript file also. In the second component, import the view encapsulation first and use it here. That encapsulation colon view encapsulation dot shadow dome dot shadow dome. While you are writing dot shadow dome here and refresh it, you will see that this is the second component is coming and button property is also coming. We are going to change one thing. Let's go to app component .css. I will remove this button property from here, right? I have removed it and I will give it to this is having blue color because I think we are writing in main style. Let's remove everything. What we are having here, this is the main app, this is first component, this is second component, and second component is not having any special font family also, right? I want to give a CSS property to these buttons. So we know that either we can set the view encapsulation to none, or we can give it in the global CSS file. So go back to style.css, and here I will write the CSS for button, and I will say that its height is 40 pixel, its width is going to be 70 pixel, and its background color is going to be yellow. All three components are taking that property, same height, width, and same background color as well. They are taking the property. Now what I will write, or what I want, that the second component should not have that property. Means this second component should not import its style from the global CSS. For that, go to the second component's typescript file, import the view encapsulation, and here set the view encapsulation to shadow dome. View encapsulation dot shadow dome, and you will see that those CSS properties are not getting applied to the second component now. Heading is also written in Times New Roman. Button is also having the basic property shadow dome. It means that it is not using the global CSS now, right? This component is not using the global CSS, right? Very good. So what shadow dome will do? Why its name is shadow dome? Because this second component is not going into the main dome now. It is creating its another dome to use. So this shadow dome, setting the view encapsulation to shadow dome, means that it will not use the global CSS, first thing, and the component will not be rendered in the main dome. Rather, it will be creating the another dome. And I hope the concept of dome is all clear to you. We don't need to discuss shadow dome. Means dome we don't need to discuss. So this is called view encapsulation. Steps of using view encapsulation. So in the step one, in whatever component you wish to use view encapsulation, firstly import the view encapsulation from Angular core. Angular core is a package name here, right? I hope these concepts are clear. So you have to import it from Angular core. In the second step, in the at the rate component decorator, you can set the view encapsulation to any of the three available properties. So there are three properties: emulated, none, and shadow dome. However, emulated is the by default or is the default view encapsulation. So there is no need of using it, and we can write emulated shed none and shadow dome as well, right? So in the components decorator, you need to keep it like this. Okay. View encapsulation in Angular. Now, if you have any question in view encapsulation, you can ask, or else we'll go to the next topic. If you have any confusion, doubt in view encapsulation, you can ask. Okay, let's write one more thing here. Let me write it here. We will use this in a very clear way. So here, first thing we will write encapsulation mode. Second thing is scoped CSS, and third thing is affected by global CSS. So we have three encapsulation mode. One is emulated, another is none, and then you have shadow dome. Now we will see that how they are written. How they are written. In case of emulated, in case of emulated, scoped CSS means whatever CSS you are writing in emulated, is it related to that component only? So yes. Then will it have the effect of global CSS? Yes, it will have the effect of global CSS. When it comes to none, is it having scoped CSS? No. Means whenever the view encapsulation is set to none, anyone can use it. Means it will be treated as scope global CSS. So no. Second thing, is it having the effect of global CSS? Yes, it will be having effect of global CSS. Shadow DOM, scoped CSS? Yes. Strictly only it can use its CSS. Global effect, no. Whatever CSS you are writing in global file, it will not be getting applied to this shadow dome. So no, it will not be affected by the global CSS. I think things are clear little bit now. View encapsulation is totally related that how your styles are getting applied. If you are setting the view encapsulation to emulated, which is by default also, I will keep it here also, that it is the default mode. So if you are writing the view encapsulation as emulated, it will be scoped, means only its HTML file can use it. Will there be any effect by global CSS? Yes. How emulated is affected on global CSS? This is the main app and we are writing it as, let's say, emulated. By default you are writing it as emulated only. It is having the H1 font as go-to. It is having H1 font as go-to. Where we are writing this? In the global CSS only, right? We are writing it in global CSS only. Or let me give you a clear cut example here. No problem. What we will do is, in the style.css, I'll remove the button property and we will give it to main app CSS. Okay. Now let's go to, see, first thing, we are just dealing with the app file. What is the font name of heading here? H1 go to, right? From where it is coming? Global CSS. And this time we are not writing any view encapsulation, or let me write it emulated here. To the app component, I am saying that its encapsulation will be emulated. What does it mean? That its CSS property will be scoped. Scoped CSS? Yes. Only this component will be having the CSS property. Second thing is, will there be any effect of global CSS? Yes, there will be a effect of global CSS. This H1 font is coming from global CSS only. Otherwise, Times New Roman is the by default font. So this was about the main app. Now let's talk about the second component. For that, I will write the none here. After writing none here, you will see that all the three components are having its button CSS property. Scoped CSS? No. All can use. Everyone can use. And when you are writing the encapsulation mode as none, will there be any effect of global CSS? Yes, there will be an effect of global CSS. How? You can check again. H1 is coming from, H1 means go to font is coming from global CSS only. Now in the second component.ts, I will set the encapsulation to shadow dome. Here I will set it to view encapsulation dot shadow dome. What we have written, that shadow dome will be having the scoped CSS, means CSS property will not be shared, and you will see that it is having second. Let me save and refresh. For that, I will remove the none from here. You will see that here this is second component, or let me keep that back. This is second component. You will see that headings are written in different way. The font is different here and the font written in the second component is different. Affected by global CSS? No. Second component is rendering the mode of shadow dome. Means it will not have any effect of the global CSS, because global CSS is saying that H1 is of go to font, but it is having the by default font Times New Roman. That is what shadow dome is. Understood now? Understood? Any questions? Yes, guys, do you have any questions? Okay. Shadow dome. Gaurav, ask your question in shadow dome now. Like what part you didn't understood? I will explain that part only. What part you didn't understood? Write that question. Scoped CSS means only that HTML file can use it. If you are writing the CSS in the encapsulation mode of shadow dome, it will not be having any effect by global CSS. That is what I'm saying. Right? If you want that, I don't want to use the, let's say, I will remove it. You will see that this is second component, and you are trying to say that I want to write in Times New Roman, but this second component is written with without any encapsulation mode, so it will use the properties of global CSS. If you want that I don't want to use the global CSS, for that you can change the encapsulation mode to shadow dome. Now it will not use the global CSS, and here the content is coming in Times New Roman font, which is default font. So it is not having the same font of go-to. Then why this second property is coming? Because it is written as a, yes, means it will be, that is what I have written for shadow dome also, that it will create its where shadow dome, it will create another dome. It will not be using the parent dome. It will create its another dome which will be having another files, right? It will be having separate part. Okay, understood now? Okay. Now let's go back to our shoe cart. And before going to shoe cart, we'll open Flipkart here and we'll search for mobile. So here it is showing result for mobile. I will write my mobile in a very unordered way. Let's say M capital, O small, B capital, I small, L capital, E capital. And when I'm searching it, it is showing me the same result also, that whatever you are searching. But what if I don't want it? We are starting the new topic in Angular that is called pipes. Word might be looking like a funny word, but it is very useful. Pipes in Angular. So we will understand it. Let's first see its example. Now, okay, again, terminal is not working here. So we are inside the test folder. I will go back. Then I will go to shoe cart and I will run it. Pipe concept is also there in MongoDB. Okay, then tell me what is pipe, what it will do. Yes, what it will do. Here, let's say I am searching for mobile and I will write mobile here. I am hitting the search button. So it is saying that showing result for mobile. Here, if I am writing it in a different way, let's say M capital, O small, B capital, I capital, L small, and then E small. If I'm searching, so it is writing it in the same way, but it is not looking good. It is not looking good, right? It is not looking good. For that, we will do one thing. So go to the code, open the app component, and this is the part of main component. So we will open the main component HTML and its typescript. So first in the HTML where we are writing it showing result for. Here we are writing it showing result for text. In app component it is getting saved inside this text. So whatever value user is writing, let's say user writing PHONE, it will be getting written in the way user is writing. But user is crazy. User can write anything, right? But how we are displaying the result, it is not looking good here. I want that the complete text should come in lowercase. This complete text should come in lowercase. Lowercase means all small. So in Angular, it is a very good thing that you can directly transform the data. Means there is nothing you need to do. You can directly transform the data. For that, let's go back to the code. Here I am writing this, that text. While you are writing the text, this is what is this method called? String interpolation. What is this called? String interpolation. Just keep a, what is this called? Or, and this is or. Okay, this is also or, but it is bitwise operator, or that was conditional or. So here you can write the property. Let's say here I am writing lowercase, right? lowercase. Text hyphen or not hyphen, or it's a slash and then lowercase. For that you will see that phone, right? Now the text is coming in all small letters. What you just added? A slash, and you have it in lowercase. Means whatever text user is writing. Let's say user is writing in complete capital letter, but the result will be displayed in all small. Now it doesn't matter what user is writing. Let's say TROUSER means user is searching for trousers, but user has written this trouser in a very bad way, in a very bad way. But whenever you are searching, user will get the data output in a very fantastic way, because you have written a pipe here. This is called pipe, lowercase pipe. So pipe is a way or method to transform, means to change the data before it is going to render, without changing the data in exact. Because here user is searching for trousers written in a very different way, but you can map it to lowercase to uppercase. If you are writing it to uppercase, that is also possible. Now the data will be coming in totally uppercase, but generally uppercase is not good, so what we will write here is lowercase, and it is coming. Now it doesn't matter how you are writing the data. If you are not writing this pipe, the data will be coming in a way that user is writing. See, and it is not looking good, right? It is not looking good. I think on Amazon, let's check. I don't know that how they display. See, they are also writing in the same way, but it doesn't looks good. If you want to transform that data, you can map it. Whatever pipe you will write, keep a slash and write the transformation lowercase, and you will get your data in lowercase letter. Doesn't matter how user is writing, it will be converted to all small, right? That is called pipe. Now time is over, we'll discuss other pipes tomorrow. Okay.